Welcome to the Food Professor Podcast, presented by Caddle, Season 6, Episode 5. I'm Michael LeBlanc.
And I'm the Food Professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Our very special guest this episode is Kirk Homenick, president at Naturally Homegrown Foods, which is including the Hard Bites chips. Oh, look what I happen to have here. Right here, some Hard Bites chips. We talk about those. I've been snacking on them.
You're not too far from Surrey, so there must be fresh.
They are fresh. They're super tasty. I picked the ones that are cooked in avocado. We're going to talk about that.
That's great.
They are very addictive. And he's got Hard Bites chips and Poptastic. It's actually not Kirk's first time on the pod. We met him briefly a few years ago. He's award winner at the Canadian Grand Prix Food Innovation Show.
Yep.
Today we're talking about snacking trends and how to be special, not necessarily big, in the snack aisle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Kirk is not only a leader, but he's an influencer in the snacking space. I was actually in Vancouver a few months ago keynoting the food and beverage event in Vancouver. Kirk obviously was there, and everyone told me, you need to get Kirk on your pod again. He's great, he's awesome, and he's a visionary. So it's great to, and of course, the snacking space is getting crowded. It's getting confusing. A lot of people are asking different questions, and I think that Kirk's insight is very, very appropriate at this point in time.
Now, he sent me a picture. I've not met Kirk. He sent me a picture, and first I looked at it, and I'm like, is Kirk really tall? Because in the picture, he looks really tall. Is he a tall fella?
7 feet tall. Yeah.
Come on.
I honestly, I'm not jealous of him when I think about traveling.
Oh, flying on an airplane at 7 foot.
Oh, my God.
That's
like, I'm
5'11".
Kind of I'm having a hard time finding space for my knees. Can you imagine him?
Well, anyway, we'll get to our interview with him. It's a great interview. Now, you and I crossed paths last week. We went out and had a great dinner, and
we did actually.
We had a great dinner.
It cost me under $200. I was actually quite impressed, Michael.
Yeah, I went easy
very
on you.
Reasonable.
I went easy
very
on you.
Reasonable. I think you actually read Restaurants Canada's report there.
Oh,
it inspired you to be, easy on my pocketbook.
Well, that wasn't my inclination, so that was an accident more than anything else. But I did want you to I won't tell anyone where we went, because we're hoping to get the owner. He's got a new cookbook out, and we're hoping to get them on the pod, and we'll want to make sure you had enjoyed their food first. Now, you were in Brampton. What were you doing in the Flower City? What were you doing in Brampton, Ontario?
Yeah, first of all, they call it Flower City. I don't know why, because I didn't see many flowers. However,
some nice parts.
When I walked in, so there were 400 people in the room. When I walked in, all tables had flowers on them. So I don't know if you've been to the Pearson Convention Center. It's pretty boring, it's stale, but they made it. They did such a great job, and of course I was keynoting that event. I got to tell you, there was a bit of a buzz in the room. Met the mayor, of course, Patrick Brown, and his staff, and lots going on in Brampton. To be honest, it's funny because when I went on stage, it reminded me of my time in Guelph on the other side of the Green Belt, and we were talking about making Guelph a logistical food hub. But Brampton has everything. It has the space. It has the people. It's got they have the international connections.
They got the geography, right in proximity to the airport, the highways, the big cities.
They have everything. And it shows, because I can't, there are some things that I heard in that room last week, but there are several companies looking into investing in Brampton right now. And so very positive. Pierre Cléroux is the chief economist of the BDC. He was actually following me and made an assessment of Brampton and, of course, the Canadian economy. He believes that we'll actually avoid a recession. I actually agree with that, by the way. I don't know if you do agree, but
it's interesting because you say that, because the C.D. Howe Institute just released a report saying, technically we're not in a recession, and we look like we've got momentum. And retailers were telling me they had, on the retail side, they had a pretty good summer. And Stats Canada reports came out last week that July was up year over year, like 5.7% in core retail. Yeah. So consumers continue to spend.
They're picking up the pace. That's right. What we need now are companies investing, of course, with the lower interest rate. Yeah. benchmark rate by the Bank of Canada. I think it's actually going to happen. So, yeah, I you know what? I left Friday, Brampton, feeling pretty pumped, to be honest.
Fantastic. Well, we wish them all well. I mean, you've also got the people, right? It's one of the youngest, largest growing, fastest growing. So you got a great mix of people and entrepreneurs. And I think you met a few people that were going to get the pod too. So that's exciting for us to tap into that. Congratulations to the mayor, Patrick Brown, and his team who put that on and highlighted the great city of Brampton. Now, I update on the reaction. Let's go to the other side of Ontario in Windsor, to our interview with Dainty Rice last week.
Oh, did you see that?
So it seems that, CTV picked up on the fact, or locally they picked up on the fact.
A couple of radio shows as well called me up. They actually listen to the pod. More reporters are listening to the pod more than I expected, to be honest.
And hello to all of you.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, and keep listening by all means. And they picked up on the fact that James announced that he was opening up a U.S. processing plant, and there was some concern in these. These are anxious days, right? There was some concern. What does that mean? Are you going to close Windsor? He was very clear, I thought, in his interview, saying we're not going anywhere. We love Windsor. And this is really an expansion opportunity. You celebrated that, and we do need to celebrate the opportunities to grow your business in the U.S. or any other market, yeah?
Yeah, the CTV reporter, when he called me yesterday, that was his approach. I mean, why are we concerned? I mean, this is actually good news. We need to celebrate this. So, again, congratulations to Denti Foods and James for the news. Of course, we don't know all of the details, but I'm sure that he'll be sharing some of the details in weeks to come.
Yeah, congratulations on that growth story. These are anxious times, so when people read these things, I think it's a free-floating anxiety. But anyway, I think he did a good job of saying,
"Oh, he did." And James was actually interviewed in the CTV report, so. Yeah,
no, it's fantastic. All right, let's talk about Restaurants Canada new report. They put out these reports kind of on a regular basis, gives us a bit of pulse into that side of the industry from their perspective. A couple of key observations that jumped out. I mean, one, nothing really, I don't know if I'd call anything new news. I mean, they talked about continuing shift to eating at home, which they kind of, I thought, drew some conclusions around economics. I find it interesting. Let's talk about that first. I find this paradox interesting. The more people are eating at home, but they're using premium services like DoorDash and UberEats to get that home. So I guess
there are contradictions in the data. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's contradictions, and there's a lot. It's very complex. Maybe people just don't want to go out. They save money on transport. They want some variety. And so I wanted you to comment on that first. I mean, I think there's a contradiction. I don't think it's all about money. I think there's some very powerful forces.
There's
the platforms. I'd get on my stool here and talk about that. There's a lot of platforms that don't want you to look away from your screen, and there's a lot of people who live in their lives attached to their screen, and in groups they should get out and see people, like in restaurants, right?
Actual people. That's right. Yeah,
actual people.
Yeah. I think you read the report the same way I did. I believe that there is a bit of shift between meals. I think Restaurants Canada's concern is about dinner. There's lots of changes there for sure. People are not spending as much in fine dining, for example. People are eating more breakfasts on the road, and of course lunches are up due to the fact that more people are actually working physically in their offices outside the home. So those were expected. Two things that really caught my attention. One, there's that transfer of wealth. I'm like you. I'm a little bit skeptical about the cooking at home thing because I always look at, as you know, with the Canadian Food Sentiment Index, we always look at the amount of money spent at home versus on the road at restaurants. And the ratio right now is 39-61. And that hasn't changed a whole lot. So 39-61, that's 39 is service, 61 is retail. Okay. Now in America, it's 54 service, 46 retail. So it's a different market. I mean, you go to the US, you can easily notice there are more restaurants there for sure.
Yeah.
Americans love to go out. But in Canada, there seems to be this shift towards breakfast and lunch. You create habits, but you don't make as much money serving breakfasts and lunches. That's the thing. And so that's one thing that caught my attention. The other thing that caught my attention, and it's going to be in La Presse tomorrow, Thursday. It is this observation that more and more people are eating alone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So 50% of Canadians have actually acknowledged in the last year that they've actually made reservations, because they actually use reservations to measure the amount of people going out to eat alone. And that number is up almost 30% year to year. I was shocked. I mean, I wouldn't go out. You pick me up at the airport. We go out for a nice dinner. I get that. I wouldn't leave Pearson Airport and go to dinner at a restaurant on my own. I just wouldn't do that. Would you?
I have done it when I travel. If I'm
you're a bar guy. You sit at the bar.
Well, I like people. I like being around people. Now, I don't
like people.
Yeah.
I hate people.
You like people. You just travel a lot, right? And so I travel kind of a medium amount. And I think, there's an epidemic of loneliness, and I think it's reflected in I don't have anybody to go eat with. I think there's a lot more to unpack here from this solo dining. But I do like,
absolutely,
for the purpose of the pod, I do like the idea, and you and I have been talking about it for many, many, many months, where restaurants' opportunity is to cater to these people, design from even a design perspective. Like I was at a restaurant last night. I'll tell you more about it later. And being around the bartender at the bar, people there, whether you're solo or together, it was a pile of fun. Very engaging, right? It wasn't like a bartender just, cleaning glasses and pushing you your drink.
And so I think they're going to have to push that, because guys like you, for example, you represent the market, right? People who may go out alone, but want to engage with strangers and the staff, and
particularly in not a new city. Vancouver's certainly not new to me. I'm in Vancouver, by the way, for those who are watching us on YouTube. I'm in a hotel room, but I've been to Vancouver many, many, many times. But hey, what's going on in Vancouver? How's Vancouver doing? What are you guys thinking about? And whatever city I'm in, and so I think that's how I like to engage. But I think there's that opportunity, as I said. Do you agree that rethink the design? It can really this is the trend, whether you like it or not.
If you're accommodating more people eating solo, that menu has to change. The way you entertain people has to change. You're just talking about it right now. I mean, the bartender, if he's got the personality of a dog or a mattress, you're not going to do much. But
you know what it reminds me of? It's as I always talk about retail. It's efficiency versus experience. So if your bartender is very efficient, I'm going to put a more positive spin on it. Let's say your bartender is very efficient, or you're working him or her really hard because there's not enough people. They don't have time to interact. So that's right. Efficient. You need an efficient bartender, but you also need an experienced bartender who's kind of waiter, bartender, maitre d', concierge, for the city, right? So.
Do you think the solo market is lucrative? Seriously, can you make money with people showing up on their own?
I do, because you've got to design for it, but I also think you made such a great point about how you think about your menu, because I think about things like more wine by the glass selection, right?
Right.
And not just the kind of the basics, expecting people to buy a bottle. So there's some economic realities to that as well. As we know, our friends in the restaurant sector make a lot of money from desserts and alcohol and the things that go around it. So they really. So
I think it's harder to actually sell those things when you're on your own, wouldn't it not?
Well, it depends, and it depends how you structure it. Now, I'll give you. I'm here in Vancouver, and I was out last night with our good friend David Ian Gray, Mr. Vancouver, and we were.
You were David. Great.
And David knows the city inside out, and he knows lots of cities inside out. But we went to a new place, June on Cambie. And it's Tuesday night, and the place was packed, and the food was amazing, and the cocktail drinks were spectacular. They also had a basement. Then we went to a place called Como Taparia, just down the street from Vidges, which is Vikram's place, where I'm going tonight. All these three places, they're getting it figured out. They're all different. We met the owners. They're talking to you. They're engaging. You can win in restaurants, but again, it gets back to efficiency versus experience.
Yeah.
Now they're on the the higher end side. It's not a budget trip, you probably wouldn't have enjoyed the bill at the end of the night. But it was a fantastic, and this taparia place.
Yeah, I mean, you were
small
with
place
David,
serving little tapas, like Spanish tapas. Everybody's standing up, and then he's selling canned seafood, like our great friends from Just Cans. Just overall fantastic experience.
Oh, that's great.
So there you go. There's my recommendations. If you're in the city of Vancouver,
but I do think that restaurants will have figure out a way to make more money with singles.
100%.
I think it's a bit of a tough sell to actually upsell anybody showing up on their own. Oh yeah.
Well, I think how it happened or why it happens beyond our scope today, but the reality is it's happening, and jump in. Let's move on. Farm Credit Canada puts out a research paper on our ability or the potential to move, I don't know, what was it, $12 billion?
Away from the Americans. Yeah.
To pivot away from the Americans. We've talked about that. And, I was reading the study, and I was thinking about, of course, everything. But I was reading a post on LinkedIn from Nicholas Mulrooney, who kind of nailed it. And he said, well, yeah, I guess, but everything is easy in theory, difficult in practice. So, for example, in his category, he was saying in the bakery category, listen, that's not going to be easy to go over to Europe. No. Am I going to sell bread in France? Like, sure, there's a market there, but can I go and get that market?
People to buy Canadian bread?
Or pizza in Italy. It's going to be a stretch, literally.
You go to France to eat French bread.
So what did you think about the overall, I mean, the notion of the report is something we've talked about over and over. We need to, diversify our trade, right?
It was an interesting exercise, but Farm Credit Canada is a crown corporation of the government of Canada. So very rarely I've seen FCC being extremely concerned and negative about certain things. It's more about cheerleading than anything else. And I would agree with Nicholas. It's more about theory, and it's all academic. When you think about farmers and the price taking going on there, it's not easy to pivot. And of course, most companies will go where the best price is. I mean, they're in to make money. And the American market
assumes, the host countries aren't heavily, like as Nicholas would say, these host countries are subsidizing their farmers, in France. So it's not exactly a level playing field either, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so the bottom line is that the American market is not only hard to replace, for certain verticals, it's impossible to replace. I mean, it's such a lucrative market. It's close by. It's there. They talk the same language. Can we just stop the cheerleading and to get companies to focus on other markets? Well, I think it's important for companies to focus on other markets, but we should also remind everyone that the American market is incredibly important for many Canadian companies, and that's not going to change.
Speaking of America, let's take this on before we get to our interview with Kirk from Heartbite. I'm going to have another. I shouldn't eat on there. I'm not going to have another. They're so good, though.
You talk. If I talk, you can eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about much of what's going on in the U.S. There's so much happening. But one of the things you raised up, the USDA terminates what they called redundant food insecurity survey. And I was reading the release from these guys, and it's actually hard to imagine this is on a government website. Like the language they use, just the fascinating. These redundant, costly, politicized, extraneous, do nothing more than fear-monger.
We're wasting our time here.
This is a government study. I mean, it's just like failed to present anything more than subjective liberal fodder. This is the federal government's website.
I know.
So okay, there's all that stuff. Anyway, this is some of the information that feeds the SNAP program. There's the big, beautiful bill that's going after the SNAP program, spending money decreases. Now, what do you make of this? You cancel a study, do whatever you want with the study, but what do you make of this? Do you see it as a long-term impact in understanding poverty, understanding food in America? What did you make of this cancellation? Does it matter?
Well, I wanted to talk about it because it's consistent with many other decisions we've seen coming from the Trump administration. The bottom line, the common denominator coming out of all of these announcements of, well, we're not going to report in. We're going to go report this. We're not going to report that. We're not going to collect data for this. We're not going to collect data for that. Is that, well, there's too much data. So, and we don't necessarily want to convey bad information or information that may be seen in negative light that could be weaponized against the Trump government. We all know what's going on here, but a good friend of mine at Dalhousie University, who just retired, his name is Peter Dunker, environmental scientist. He's always told me trees are his passion. He told me once, you can never plant enough trees. He told me that once because you came to my place and looked at my backyard and plant as many trees as you want. You can never plant too many trees. I had the same approach with data. You can never have too much data. It's how you manage data. You need to be strategic about how you manage your data, but you can never have enough data. As a data analyst, I feel very strongly about that. You can actually have bad data, good data, but that's your job to assess what is good and what is not so good. Now, to see the USDA stop collecting data on a variety of different issues, including food insecurity, is totally irresponsible for not only researchers, but for NGOs and schools. And I mean, the USDA is such a great unit to provide information to the Americans. I wish we had in the USDA, but now we're seeing the amount of data being depleted, and the USDA is not as active as it should. In Canada, we don't have anything close to that. I wish we would, but we don't. And so I feel sad when I see a government saying, you know what, this information we don't really need, it's redundant. Well, let researchers decide that.
Well, whether it's the headache of reading this rationale or the extra beverage I had last night, I'm just going to take a Tylenol right now, and then I'm going to go. We'll take a break and we'll listen to our interview.
You shouldn't, according to the chief medical officer of the United States, called Donald Trump.
And let's have a listen to Kirk, our interview with Kirk from Naturally Homegrown Foods. Need fast, reliable Canadian shopper insights? Meet Rapid Response, Caddle's most popular survey tool. In just 5 questions, you can reach any audience in Canada, French, English, or both, with results delivered in as little as 5 business days. Whether you've got a big retailer meeting coming up or need quick, credible data to guide decisions, Rapid Response gives you expert research and a powerful Excel-based dashboard, all for just $2,500, with subscription options that can save you even more. As a listener of the Food Professor podcast, your first Rapid Response is free. Just email at insights@caddle.ca and mention the Food Professor. That's insights@caddle.ca. Kirk, welcome back to the Food Professor podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Fantastic. It's great to have you back
great,
on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got a pan-Canadian thing. Well, I guess more. You just told us off, Mike, you're in Saskatoon. Sylvain's in Halifax. I'm in Toronto. So we're uniting the country, the three of us here together. And you've been on the pod before, but not only, but you were out here for a bonus episode. So we're really thrilled to get you back for a regular episode and a couple of years later. So both kind of dive in a little bit deeper, and also you can catch us up about what's going on. So thanks for taking the time. Tell us, for those who maybe missed the first interview, and just to catch up, tell us about your background, what you do for a living, and all about your business.
Thanks, guys. So I'm with Naturally Homegrown Foods. We're a Surrey, British Columbia-based salty snack manufacturer, primarily producing, developing, and marketing savory snacks in the better for you space. A lot of folks, hopefully, are familiar with our anchor brand, which is hard. And that's a kettle cooked, all natural, non-GMO, project verified chip, line of chips that we have that are broadly distributed across Canada. In addition to the hard bite potato chip line, we launched a root vegetable line in 2014, an avocado oil cooked line in 2018. And then last year, we expanded our product lines beyond kettle chips and what you could make in a kettle fryer, and started a popcorn line named Poptastic. So that's been very exciting for us. And we are headquartered, as I said, in Surrey, British Columbia. As of May 2022, we're in a new 42,000 square foot facility where all of our production currently occurs.
Now, why? How did you wind up in Surrey? Like, what's the? Is there a there's lots of agriculture based around there. Was it good for people? Was it where you lived? Like, tell us about why and how you wound up where you are.
Yeah, not the sexiest of stories, for sure. We acquired the company in 2011, and it was based in Maple Ridge, and was there when started in as far back as 1998, and that's when. You guys may not remember, but there was large. A conventional snack food company out west called Nally's that was headquartered out of Vancouver. They left the marketplace and moved all their operations to Oregon, and that left behind some people and some know-how. And a couple former employees started up Naturally Homegrown Foods close to their home in Maple Ridge, and had a go of it from that point in time. We've moved and scaled the facility twice, and in all honesty, moving to Surrey was strategically located a little bit closer to my home, in all honesty.
Well, Kirk, you and I met, I think it was in May in Vancouver, if I remember correctly. And when I was actually walking the room there at the Food and Beverage Association convention, everyone told me, you need to talk to Kirk, and you need to have him on your show as soon as possible. And I mean, you're recognized as a great leader for the food manufacturing industry, and I'm sure you know that. But you also seem to be very modest as well, and proud also. To support your brand, you do have a procurement strategy to get to Canadian ingredients. Can you tell us more about your strategy in terms of how you select your ingredients, and how important is it to actually to have these ingredients as Canadian ingredients?
Yeah, I mean, everything's certainly come into focus a bit more in the last 9 to 12 months with the new U.S. Presidential mandate that's been pushed forward. But I think, some of the values of the brand behind Hard Bite have always been, in the company's name, Naturally Homegrown Foods. And so, our goal and objective is to always source as close to us as possible. For a variety of different reasons, supporting local industry, freshness of product, lower carbon footprint. The reasons are many. But, one of our key values as a company is also transparency. And, that really goes to, Hard Bite stands for the consumer, a product that they're the subset of the consumer population that's picking the product off the shelf, turning it around, and reading the ingredient label. And and that's very important. We like to say we're extremely proud to be Canadian owned and operated. And, there's a lot of large multinationals creating jobs in our country, which is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. We like to say we're reinvesting any of the proceeds that we have back into our business and the economy. So, I think that's just kind of how we're wired as a company.
Yeah, it's not like you don't have big players in your category with farmers on tractors saying these are Canadian potatoes going into the chips you're eating, right? So, that kind of levels those things out. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, and that's important too. Don't get me wrong, guys. There is support of the local ag industry there for sure, and of course, that one evil empire that you're mentioning, that we won't mention the name of, that has those commercials out there. I mean, that's truthful. They're a large, supporter of our ag industry. So I don't want to diminish the role that they play for sure, because their support of the ag industry probably creates opportunities for us in our supply chain as well too. I think they're really important, but we hopefully are trying to go that extra mile in taking the business and putting money back into our business, and expanding capacity, or creating new roles or new product lines and things like that, to further enhance the local agri-food industry itself.
Mm-hmm. Tell us more about the snacking market. Just this week, actually, Restaurants Canada released a new report outlining that people aren't going out as much, but they are snacking more, or they're seeing their meal management a little differently. So their people are just consuming at different times, and quantities will vary. So what do you see in the snacking market right now from your standpoint?
Yeah, well, I guess a couple of things just on the surface of it before we kind of dive into like the real here and now is I've always found that the snacking market has been so dynamic and so impulse driven as well too. We like to say that people go down the snack aisle without a plan. And so how are you going to appeal to them? Price pack architecture is certainly something, your packaging, your ingredient profile, and that can be both flavor or, possibly better for you ingredients. And pack size as well has been something that I'll speak to in a moment. But I think those are really critical. We leaned on this belief once we hit the hyperinflation market that in good times people eat chips and in bad times people eat a lot of chips, and that's historically been the case. And I think that we got to a point, and a lot of it was driven by the hyperinflation of the veg oil markets, that we hit that elasticity point for the first time that I've been in this space for sure. And, you saw a bit of a flattening. So you're seeing dollar sales in the category up, but not necessarily unit sales.
Right.
But overall, I think that snacking and, number of occasion of snacking is going to continue. And within our salty snack space, what we also see is it's being driven by the US more. So it's slowly making its way into Canada is the multi-packs and the variety packs of multiple snack sizes that you can kind of take on the go. One of my former bosses a number of years ago used to call it dashboard dining, and I think we're seeing that. So we're seeing a continued increase on the number of snacking occasions, and what we're also seeing right now is this level of a trade down to the ultra value base. So, people trading down into, say, private label or lower price. But we're also seeing the ultra premium side maintain and grow a little bit as well, too. And what the indicators we believe are behind it is, I may not buy that expensive piece of clothing or a new pair of shoes that I really want. But you know what? I deserve this permissible indulgent snack, and it's in our case got some better for you ingredients like made with avocado oil, and so I can bite the bullet on that. I may not be able to bite that, inflationary cost on a new car or something like that. But I'm still going to have my snack, my premium snack.
Right.
So, yeah.
I'll ask one more question about ingredients, and then I'll pass it back to Michael. Are you expecting the next year or two to see inflation or the cost of ingredients to remain an issue in your business?
I think, it's been such a roller coaster ride, Sylvain, for the last number of years that you have to be hyper engaged that it's going to continue, in all honesty.
Yeah.
That we, just when you think you get past something else kind of, smacks you in the backside of the head that you weren't necessarily expecting. So, yeah, I do. I also, I think the environment's driving some of that. And, I think there's, some of the geopolitical issues out there are certainly influencing some of those variables and factors as well. In the big run up where there was scarcity of cooking oil and prices were going through the roof, we hunkered down pretty good. We managed to get through it. As far as kind of maintaining supply and, had our price increases to the market, which weren't great, for anyone. But in that process, what we really fell back on as a company was, we knew that we weren't going to be able to get all of the costs passed on. And what it really trained us to do is look inside and see what we could control as a company too, on our side. How could we be more productive? What could we do a better job of in getting our product to market? How could we plan better? How could we do things just to improve our performance as a company at the same time?
Yeah, I'm super interested in your segmentation, just as a gateway to our conversation. I mean, I see the better for you crowd, and then there's the I just want a delicious chip crowd, or I want chips on the go. Certainly some of your branding reflects that. You've got, on my favorite, the avocado and lime. You got somebody doing mountain biking, and that is not typically what I do when I eat my potato chips, but there's people who want it on the go. So you're clearly thinking about the different segments. Could you talk to that for a little bit? Like, you said earlier on, the people who turn around the package and check out the ingredients, that's a segment, but you may or may not be able to survive as a brand solely catering to them, and they want great taste too, right? So talk about how you think about the products and the branding and the packaging, which you also indicated was so important on the shelf.
Yeah. When we took over in 2011, one of the things that we inherited was just a brand that had gotten a little bit tired, and I say that just with respect from the standpoint of just hadn't been money invested in the brand, and we saw an opportunity to invest, rebrand the company, and lean on certain aspects that we thought were really important. And first and foremost, going back to what I mentioned, the category being so impulse driven is, people are going to shop with their eyes in the snack set, and how can you stand out on shelf? Regional was really important for us at that point in time, which it started as wanting to own the Western Canadian market, and now we've broadly distributed it across the country, and we're really trying to be the Canadian kettle chip out there, and so I think what we tried to embody were some of those values that were a little bit more of outdoor, aspirational, lifestyle oriented, that a lot of people really enjoy in our country, and that they look at. The visual, I think, is very different than what you see in the snack aisle too, and I think that 100%. Definitely gave us a leg up. And then when we got into root veg, we knew we had to be a little bit different. We were going after someone else. We called it sophisticated snacking, where it was more of like wine and cheese crowd, maybe a little bit older demographic, different taste profile. And then, when we got into avocado oils in 2018, I mean, it was really, twofold where, there's some perceived benefits with heart health with avocado oil. And, it certainly had a clean taste as well too, which was great. But
higher smoke point, so that must have changed the way you make your chips as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. You change your you change your cook controls and your cook times and temperatures for sure on that. But I guess we found ourselves at the right place at the right time when the anti-seed oil movement happened, being on shelf and being very present at that point in time. We've seen, gosh, our growth rate on avocado oil is since 2018 has been 82% per year. And
wow.
And Sylvain, in case you haven't seen it, I'm just on the site and I've seen these on the shelves as well. Just the creativity that goes into the brand, the eat your parsnips and dress to dill, and the beet goes on with beet flavored chips. I mean, collectively, you guys must have a lot of fun around a whiteboard thinking about where you're going to go next. And then when you talk about avocado oil and seed oils, that's an interesting discussion because I don't know if the jury's out. I mean, the jury seems to be in around seed oils being fine. But, on the one hand, you want to leverage that opportunity. On the other hand, you don't want to facilitate, a discussion that is, headed in the wrong direction around seed oils. But so you kind of straddle those two worlds, right? You've got a great product made with an oil. And at the same time, your other products may or may not be made with a different oil, but they all come together in a portfolio, which gets me, yes, there is a question eventually in all of this. It gets me to how you and the team think about growth. So you launched Poptastic. We haven't talked about that as much yet. Do you see growth? You're clearly doing, let's call them line extensions. Do you see geographic growth? You describe that west to east. Do you think about going south? Do you think about other products? Talk about how you think about growth in the organization.
Yeah, well, I think, first and foremost, I think, for a company like us who's a challenger brand and is chipping away at the markets, no pun intended, we still believe that there's a lot of household penetration that we can achieve within the Canadian market and building brand awareness. We index a little bit higher in Western Canada, but Central Canada obviously is a big area of focus for us. Mm-hmm. We push innovation pretty hard as a company from a growth standpoint, because we believe that a seasonal offering may be the first time that a consumer gets their hands on our brand and product, and it's their first experience, and we want them to come back. So we'll do up to 8 seasonal variations per year. We'll rotate in 4 new everyday offerings, so one under each of our 4 kind of subline / product lines.
That's a lot of manufacturing complexity, in a food business like yours. Like the big guys win because they make, one new flavor every 2 years, and then they just make a lot of what they have. So that introduces a lot of, you're always in front of your grocers, pitching new flavors. I guess that's what you're known as. That there's complexity in all that, though, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think, there's times where my my operations manager, feels
tikka what? We're doing tikka masala?
Yeah,
but I think it's been something that the team's really bought into because it does embody some entrepreneurialism for us. Sure. And I think they see the wins that we get on it, and it invigorates them. And so I think that's definitely been beneficial. But going back to growth, I think growth for us also comes from a bit more geographic expansion into the U.S. market. Looking at some, eventually we're probably going to need to set up a secondary location for production, and hopefully that gives us a strategic advantage on a different access point into the U.S. market and a larger population base. And then, we've had a lot of fun with Poptastic. It won 2 Retail Council of Canada awards this year. We've gotten great distribution. It's exceeded our expectations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's reinforced to our team that we can be pretty good with product lines and new brands. So I think you can expect to see in the coming years, some new product line extensions from us and new brands in the snack space. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fair. It's fair to say that you don't let the chips fall where they may. You guys are very plain. I had to get that.
Yeah. I was just waiting for it. Michael's big on puns. Listen, Kirk. So just going to ask you to think about the next 5 to 10 years from now. So what's on your dashboard as CEO for your company and beyond? So what are you thinking about right now for the future?
Well, I kind of teased it out. I think one of the things for us is, we're reaching capacity with our current facility, and being close to market is really important. And so we think there's another market access point out east that, if and when we're ready, I think will help us service our key accounts better. Harmonize out some freight costs, be more nimble and responsive to our customers' needs. And so I think, first and foremost, you're probably going to see some scaling from us in the coming years. Beyond that, we're going to continue with, we call them our Fun for You offerings. So it's really, like I mentioned, that permissible indulgence, but playing around with flavor profiles and things like that to generate excitement and interest in the brand. But if I had to really guess, I think the huge opportunity for us in the future is a new brand to complement Hardbite and Poptastic.
Okay.
And, whether that's in, there's other formats that we're considering right now, but
right.
I think functionality is really it's going to continue to grow. I think the protein phenomenon is well serviced at this point in time, Sylvain, but I think there's other functionalities that are going to be explored in the next few years. And I think there's certain snacking applications that are very good carriers of functionality as well, too. So I think that's where I envision us going in the next 5 years.
That's great, Kirk. Listen, thank you so much for joining the Food Professor podcast, and congratulations on your success. And I'm looking forward to, we both are looking forward to see more great stories coming out of your business over the next 5 to 10 years. So congratulations on your success. And absolutely. Yeah. And best of luck to you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time. It's been a lot of fun talking to you and talking about the space. So I really appreciate it.
Great news. I don't know if you saw this from our prior guest, Charlotte Langley from Just Cans. Did you notice her big announcement that came out? Did you see it?
No. What happened?
She is entering the Top Chef Canada kitchen to compete for the title of Canada's top chef. So she will, we've had prior winners actually on the podcast. So Charlotte, if it's up to personality, she'll win hands down.
I was just going to say, my goodness, if personality is a criteria, hands down, absolutely.
Well, anyway, tune in October 14th, 10
she's
p.m.
She's not the typical chef. I mean,
she's not.
She doesn't have an ego.
Well, we're going to find out how that does. I mean, whether it's Chuck Hughes, these folks, it could be just masters at their craft. So anyway, it's going to be on Stack TV, and as she sent the note, she canned wait for everyone to get on the action. So we wish Charlotte all the best. Yeah, good pun.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's leave it there. Let's wrap for this show. I'm Michael LeBlanc, media entrepreneur. consumer growth advocate and advisor. And you are?
And I'm the food professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
Safe travels, everybody.
Take care.